All right, how's everyone doing? I am Rich CELENZA. Thanks for checking out the Rich CELENZA show. So, I'm going to do a podcast on something that it's kind of funny, I think. I may offend others, but whatever. And, a lot of people that are heavy now, especially my friends, I should say, they were athletes previously. A lot of them. I hung around with a lot of gym rats, a lot of guys that played a lot of different sports. That goes for grade school, high school, and college. Even some I know that went even higher. We goof around with each other. And I was thinking of a word the other day, and I called it a FATHLETE. It's kind of, somebody who's fat that used to be an athlete. And I noticed that, I don't know what it is, but a lot of guys I think that I grew up with that love sports or athletics, they grew up to be a lot heavier than a lot of guys I know that weren't into sports or that, played, I guess you could say, organized sports or worked out in the gym a lot. And I think one of the reasons is because if you worked out, I'll just use people that worked out, for instance. So a lot of guys that worked out for many, many years were big. They lifted weights, powerlifting, bodybuilding, or whatever. And they just got big. They had big muscles. And then as time went by, they kind of quit. Or they kind of jump in and out of it. But the thing is, a lot of that weight they held on to. I also think a lot of people that love sports or were athletes, they love watching sports as well. So what I realized too is a lot of them guys that really kind of, especially in their 20s and 30s, yeah, they partied and drank. They drank beers or whatever, but they worked out and they kept on top of their weight. Actually, a lot of guys I know, I was the opposite of them. I was the one who was extremely heavy in my youth or got heavier in my 20s and 30s. I would jump between 220 to 230 to 250. Most of my friends that were athletes that worked out then or that were involved with bodybuilding or powerlifting or just wrestling or whatever, they wanted to be trim all the time, kind of. They wanted to be jacked, but they also wanted like a six-pack to a certain degree. They wanted to be shredded, right? A lot of them, I could care less. I just wanted to be massive. And, it's funny, as time went on, we kind of role reversed, and I didn't do it intentionally. I just felt horrible the heavier I got. But now a lot of my friends, I'm the thinnest out of them all. I went from the heaviest for decades. First I went for the littlest, the smallest guy. Then I went to the heaviest, and now I'm the thinnest, for the most part, that I know of. And I'm not thin by any means. I'm 200 pounds, but most of my friends, for the most part, unless they're shorter, they're at my weight. A lot of them are Italians too, so they are shorter than me, and they are my weight, which is probably overweight, most of them. Or they're just my height too, a lot heavier. And we were just kind of discussing this. This comes up a lot with me and my friends. That I don't know what happens too with a lot of guys that were really, like I was saying, really caught up with athletics that got, so heavy as they got older. I do think a lot of them sit around a lot more. Not just watching Netflix or HBO Max or whatever, or the computer. I do think a lot of them like to watch a lot of sports. And while watching a lot of sports, they drink a lot of beer, for instance, or drink other alcohol beverages. They're just not burning up that fat. But I also think a lot of fathletes, I guess you could say, think they're in better shape than they are a lot of times. Or they think they're always going to make that comeback. Or no problem, I'm going to go to the gym in a month or two, or I'm going to start jiu-jitsu, or I'm going to start walking more, I'm going to start doing this. But it never really seems to happen. For the most part, most of my friends that are athletes or that were in their past just seem to be getting heavier and heavier. Now, I presume a lot of it's their diet as well. Because I live in Florida, so I hang out with a lot of guys here that we eat a lot of Italian foods, and we just eat a lot of food in general. I think we go out a lot. And then in my family members and friends all in Chicago, they're, really known for comfort food, and it's very affordable. So they eat a lot as well. So these are just the people I'm around. But, if you are a fathlete, I should see if that's even a domain. But if you, really pay attention to yourself, don't let it get too far. Because I'm just telling you, even a lot of my friends, not to throw them under a bus, or just people I know in general, I should say friends, that I run into a lot. I just ran into my mechanic and we were talking about this, and I did a previous podcast mentioning him and all our friends that worked out throughout the years and all the health complications a lot of them had because they took such a toll on their body. But how a lot of them just let themselves go. And they became huge. Some even became obese. And there's a fine line there. And I don't know why it happens to a lot of people that were, like I said, an athlete or that worked out, that all of a sudden they go into just gaining a lot of weight and not being able to control themselves. I didn't mind being heavy when I was younger because I was strong. I still kind of had a V, but I had a belly, believe me, and I was heavy. But I knew as I got older, I don't know how, I knew as I was getting old, I should say, that I was starting to feel worse. If you're feeling like shit, man, no, I'm not telling you got to go on a serious diet, but just really start paying attention to your health, because that stuff a lot of times just jumps on you. And like I said earlier, it just is hard as you get older. It is harder to shred off. And I think even guys in their 40s or 50s always think, oh, I'm cool now, I could still pull it off. Someone I just had literally a heart attack and died at 54 years old. So really pay attention to this. And like I said, I know a lot of guys that were athletes that still think and they are probably very strong, and a lot are probably very coordinated, and a lot can still do a lot of things. That doesn't mean that your heart can handle it after a certain amount of time. Especially a lot of guys I know in their past that used to do a lot of things with supplements or steroids or growth hormone and all these things. You really have to look at the toll you've taken on your body throughout your life, while working out, even if you're not working out. But as you get older now, all that weight you're carrying. So I'm going to wrap it up there. This was a shorty, and I like it. If you got any questions or comments, just hit me up. And I am going to say, I'm not here to hurt anybody's feelings. And I'm here also to say that I am by no means in perfect shape, not even close to it. But I do, when I do these podcasts, want people to take an honest approach at how they look and how they feel. Because I think there's a lot of bullshit out there kind of fluffing things along, always making you feel like, oh, you're good. Either they're making you feel like, oh, you're good, no problem, no, don't body shame yourself, don't feel like shit, you're going to be all right. You may not be. And also at the same time, then kind of flipping it and kind of saying, hey, you're way overweight, you better lose 30 pounds, you better start eating this way, you better start working out this way. If you don't do that, you're going to be dead by the time you're 55 years old. Like, it's extreme both ways. Just figure yourself out, but really pay attention. And I call it the staircase test a lot of times. And I fail this sometimes, I'm telling you, when I gain weight sometimes. And I do cardio and work out. You go up a couple flights of stairs. Just go to a mall. If you don't go up a lot of stairs or you don't travel, go to a mall. Don't take the escalator. Go up a flight of stairs, or go up two. Actually, if you go up one, you kind of may be able to pull it off. Go up 2 or 3. See truly how you feel. If you really are, out of breath, winded, dizzy, it might be time to really start getting some of that weight off. Now, if you're thin and that's happening, that's a different situation. But I'm just telling you, a lot of times I see my friends and everybody. I was making a joke the other day. I'm like, man, I get winded when I do this or that. And they're like, we're always winded. And I said, well, it's time then. You know what I mean? It's not like we're dead. It's not like we're 75 years old here. But because of that weight being on their bodies it's a lot of weight. And you get in these situations with your friends, and we used to all make fun of each other, but it is getting at the point now that we're in our 50s, like, are we hurting someone's feelings here? Are we giving them a complex? But the truth is, someone's got to tell them, hey, you got to pay attention to that, especially if you have kids. You want to be here for your kids. You never think you're going to be the one who has a heart attack. You're never going to be the one who has a stroke. You're never going to be the one who has, health complications. Before you know it, your blood pressure, everything else can be happening, and you don't even know it a lot of times. So I will say, to wrap it up, if you're not feeling good, get to the doctor. Don't just trust sitting in a chair at a CVS or Walgreens to take your blood pressure. If you're not feeling good, you're feeling winded, if you're having horrible night's sleep, all these things, a lot of it could be because of your weight. I'm just telling you. So, all right, I wish you nothing but the best. Take care.